Hi guys, welcome back to Four Towers Films. Another episode of A Writer's Life. In this one, I'm going to talk to you about research. When you're researching a book, normally you'll think nonfiction book. Of course, journalists, authors who write nonfiction books tend to have to research their topics, whether it be interviewing, reading a book on reading other books on the subject, or even internet research. But a lot of novelists or fiction writers don't think that maybe the same way in terms of doing research. But to make a really authentic book, especially if it's historical fiction or crime book, it's actually good to research exactly how the police officer does their job, or how forensics do their job, or whatnot. The first step in researching a book is to organize your resource material. It's really difficult, especially if, say, you're writing something that's pretty complicated, like a historical novel or something, and you have a lot of research. Well, where are you going to put it so that you're not having to dig through a whole bunch of notes or books or web pages? You have it all in the same place. So there's different ways that you can do this. Now, first, if you are the kind who wants to look through books, we'll have folders, and you write them out in long form on paper or type them up and print them. We'll have a physical folder or binder, file folder, something like that you can organize, and you can divide those books or binders into sections. So, say settings, characters, maybe how different jobs are done then, all that sort of thing. And you could divide them into a binder or put them into folders, and then you could color code them so that you can easily find what you're looking for at a moment's notice. The next thing that you can do if you're doing it online is do digital research folders. So whether it could be a website that you download, or you copy and paste something that you found that's relevant to a character or to a scene in your book, and you copy and paste it into a Word folder or something, you can do that as well. You can put it on Google Docs, or set up something in a spreadsheet program, or put up folders into your documents folder on your computer and headline that. So again, same way you would if you were physically doing it, so that you can quickly go to each folder that you need and look up what it is that you want to look up. If you really want to just get technical, if you go to a library or something, you can just do it in a notebook. And then again, there are still section notebooks just like they used to have, and with those little tabs on the side, and then just headline it and write whatever notes for characters or whatnot, settings, all that sort of thing, in each individual part of a physical notebook as well. It's more time consuming, and it's actually sometimes good to do that if you're interviewing. So say you've gone to interview somebody about their job, and you want to put that into your book. You can do not only just recordings of what they say, but you can physically write notes down, because it'll actually help you remember it better when you write it out long form than if you just listen to it on a recording. So whatever way you want to do this, just make sure it's relevant to you and how you find it easier to look up quickly. The next part is to basically read on your subject matter that you're going to be writing about. So say it's a crime novel. Well, you're going to want to read on and I don't mean read other crime novels, which you probably already do. Most writers are readers of the specific genre that they're interested in. So you probably already do read crime novels, for example, or horrors or romance, whatever genre that you want to write in. So let's say it's a crime novel. So you're not necessarily going to want to read, say, someone else's crime novel. It will be actually research and nonfiction books on the subject matter that you want to write about. So you could read a true crime book from a detective or FBI or, CSI, for example, that sort of thing. Or you can actually go to, say, websites, like, say it's a medical drama, like WebMD or Mayo Clinic, that sort of thing, so that you can have an idea. Say your character has a specific medical condition and you want to look that up. How would a doctor treat it? How would they diagnose it? And make notes from what you read from that, and then you develop your storyline from there. So you basically, you've got several things. You can go to a library. There's resource libraries that have a lot of information, mostly nonfiction, on anything from historical to technology to medical to crime to whatever it is that you want to look up. There even can be law texts, and there's law libraries, and some are open to the public. Just check in your area if there is, and you can actually read cases, especially in the public, about how does a lawyer prosecute? How do they develop their case, both prosecution and or defense? So you can make your crime novel or law or legal thriller more authentic. You can find a lot of those kind of things in certain libraries, your regular local library or reference libraries. So there's even archival libraries. So if you really want historical, statistical data of, say, how big was Chicago in the 1900s and what was it predominantly, and things like that, it's all those sort of things that you can find in specific kinds of libraries. Of course, there's also the internet, which you can look up. The internet's a wealth of knowledge. Bear in mind there are some sites that are less reputable than others that may not have the correct info, so always verify that. If you're looking for something that's really authentic, look for, say it's something about a city, look for actual city pages or government pages. Now in the States, you'll find that they'll have a .gov or .org, that sort of thing. Like I mentioned before, medical things could be like Mayo Clinic, WebMD, Harvard Medical, same with law, that sort of thing. Look for really authentic and credible sources for your work. You can look at, say, I know that there are some sites of authors who had done other jobs. Like, for example, John Douglas is a pretty famous FBI profiler who's written quite a few books. So, and he does have a website where he talks about profiling. So, say your character's a profiler, you can read and research what does a real FBI profiler do and how do they profile a criminal. So you can even do that, is go to specific lawyers' websites, doctors' websites, whatever it is that you want to do. And sometimes you can actually ask them questions as well, or just read what they've already posted, and it gives you a good idea of what you can put in your book to make it more authentic. So once you have some research book-wise, you can actually move into other areas of research. It's not necessarily just limited to books. So you can move into, say, video. You've got YouTube, Vimeo, Dailymotion, a lot of things like that, or even documentaries on Netflix, anything like that. So documentary channels, things like that, or history channels, they're all very good forms of research. So say it's something that you're talking about ancient Rome, well, you might want to look up at the History Channel and see if there is any documentaries there. And a lot of these even channels have archives on their websites that you can look up of documentaries that they've already done. So that could be very relevant to the story that you're writing. So check them out as well. Don't just stick to, say, even just YouTube, but you can really broaden it outwards and look at even web channels, like even channels like Sci-Fi, things like that to get, or Food Channel, Food Network, things like that, even to get your research. You can even, believe it or not, look for places like Pinterest, because it's not just pictures and videos that you can do, but some people will do pins of with videos or books that they've read or newspaper articles, magazine articles that they find interesting that might be relevant to your story that perhaps you might want to put into your book as well. So that's another form that you can look at as a form of research. One form of research that can be invaluable, and mostly journalists and things like that, and nonfiction writers might do this, is to actually talk to people, interview them. That could be a lawyer, that could be a doctor, that could be a police officer, FBI, whatever, Border Patrol, whatever it is that you can do. And yes, there are a lot of police departments that have a PR department, public relations department, that will book a time with them or with an officer who's free, who might be off duty, who might be willing to talk to you even for half an hour, whatever, about whatever you want to ask them. Same with doctors, same with lawyers. There are lawyers who a lot of the time will give you at least a half an hour where you don't have to pay for a consultation with them, or even online through their websites. You might be able to talk to them that way. Even paralegals, that sort of thing, that you might be able to get some information from. That's how all the major authors do it. And you don't necessarily have to be a well-known name to be able to get interviews with these people. So it doesn't hurt to ask. Give them a call, send them an email, anything like that. Or show up and talk to the secretary on when they're open, and see if you might be able to book an appointment to do an interview. Just say you're writing a book, what your book's about, give them a bit about what it's about and what the character is about. And when you do go to the interviews, make sure you have very pointed questions that you want to ask ahead of time. Plan them out, and don't ask them stuff that you can't really research online that they might be relevant to that particular doctor or lawyer or whoever it is that you're interviewing, because you don't want to take up too much of their time. But make sure that you are prepared well ahead of time before your interview with them. One way of researching you might not have thought about is actually visiting places that you plan to write about in your book. It's not always a good idea to write about places that you've never seen in person, because you can't convey the atmosphere as well unless you've experienced it. Now, unless it's a dystopian future that you're completely making up right off the top of your head. If you've never visited New York City, can you really grab and explain what it's like to stand in the middle of Times Square amongst all those people? Or if it's not as well of a known park or restaurant or something, but there could be readers of your book that have been there and they're like, oh, you got that wrong. It's better to actually immerse yourself and head to those places and see for yourself and make notes, video it, take pictures, all that sort of thing, so that you can relate that back when you're writing about them in your scene, especially if that location is going to play a big part in your book and in your story. You really need to have a really good feel for it before you write about it. One good tip that I can give you when you're researching is don't just research. Actually write while you're researching, because believe me, when you're writing a book that's 50,000 words minimum long, it can take a long time, and you may never actually get started writing, So research it, but also start writing at the same time, because when the research is fresh in your head, it will convey better, and you can really bring your readers along with you at the same time. Because say you're excited about a place that you've just been to, or you've just looked up or read about, you can convey that excitement to your reader at the same time while it's fresh in your head. And in the same token, when you're writing, not everything you research you have to put into the book. Because there could just be stuff that, if you find it a little bit dull or it's a little long-winded, or if you've ever read a book where it seems to go on and on and on, and, you're just putting in so much detail about a particular character, of what they do for a living, and that, your story kind of gets stalled, well, that can happen in your book too. So make sure you pick and choose the most important things of what you've researched and only add and include that in your book, so that you don't get bogged down and that your readers don't stop reading. Well, that's all for today. I hope this has been a helpful video to you. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, and comment, how do you research your book? Do you have any questions about researching? Any other kind of unique ways that you like to research, or any tips that you would like to give? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification so you know when I upload. I upload Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and sometimes random times during the week. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.